Hey, what's up, guys? Tookie here, back again, and it is that special time of year, the year where EA NHL hands people like myself, people like Tactics HD, and so many others free content. Let's be honest. It's time to talk about some NHL 23 ratings that have been revealed on the Twitters. Now, I think most people know, if you're watching this, probably kind of what I do. I'm a gigantic nerd for this stuff. I like to roster edit a lot. I like to put my own little spin on things, in my opinion, make things a little bit more logical and sensical in some ways, and we'll talk about that as it goes on. Of course, I'll never claim that the methods that I use or the formulas that I use are perfect in any way, but hey, we did just have a pretty damn successful first year on the Series S and Series X. I wanted to thank you guys for that. My most recent and probably final NHL 22 roster update is out now, by the way. If you haven't checked that out, it has the likes of Zdeno Chara's retirement. Feel free to listen to an episode of the Tookie's Take podcast. We'll be talking all about Chara's retirement, PK Subban's retirement on the most recent episode. If it's not out by the time you're watching this, it should be out on Thursday, I think the 22nd or Friday the 23rd at the latest. Yeah. Listen to us talk hockey. We're about ready to start our season previews and stuff like that. 2 times a week, the Tookie's Take podcast. So with this, let's get to talking about this, because it wasn't long after this first one was posted on September 19th that I was asked, what are your personal ratings here, buddy? And, you know, I knew that was going to happen because it happens every single year. I already shouted out Tactics in this video. Great friend of the channel there. And of course, he has already had his videos out kind of talking about this. I decided to take the approach of being a bad YouTuber and just talking about it all in the same video instead of having multiple videos. So Tactics better than me at this platform, that's for sure. But I was asked about this, and of course, they started off with a bang with the top right wings in the game. You can see a certain tweet right there. Look, I had a response in regards to this right here in terms of who finished for NHL 22 as my top rated right wingers, and we'll look at that as an example here. Now, obviously, EA disagrees with me in terms of who was actually a right winger. I have DeBrincat in my top left wings for that particular example. But again, the way I set up rosters in NHL 22 and attributes is I view an overall, as I've said before, as an overall. You can't be Patrick Kane with my rosters, or you could be, but with my rosters, you aren't. You're not going to be Patrick Kane and still be a 93 overall when you don't play defense whatsoever. It's an overall. It's not elite, Hall of Fame caliber offense, ECHL level defense, 93 overall. It's not how it works with buying, so Patrick Kane is not in the mix there. I fully acknowledge 92 points last season, I do believe. Future Hockey Hall of Famer. You know, questionable leadership characteristics, plays for a questionable organization with a questionable owner and a questionable logo. There we go. Tick off all those boxes to piss off some of you, and I genuinely don't care. He's not what he used to be. He's still good. He's the #1 winger in the game. Nah. There are numerous players, numerous players that you should want to take over Patrick Kane. Again, like I said, Hockey Hall of Fame level talent. No. In 2023, my brother in Christ, he should not be the top rated right wing. I think someone like Mikko Rantanen, it's a good thing he is there. Kucherov, Pasternak, Marner. I mean, again, these are guys that should very much be up there. I'm guessing they still have Stamkos as a center. Obviously, at the time that I'm putting this video together, they haven't released the center list. I imagine it'll be out by the time this video's out, and I'm sure I'll talk about it on Twitter. You know, Mark Stone being there, again, not bad. Andrei Svechnikov, no. That is way too early. Tarasenko, no, not anymore. Kairu, I think he's in that mix of 87s for me, so I don't hate it. But, you know, Jets fans, I mean, rightfully should be upset. No Nick Eller's representation. There's no Clayton Keller representation on this list, and I think that is relatively unjust. Both of these two in particular might not play for the biggest markets in the world. They are both spectacular players. But for the most part, right, like, oh, Mark Stone, they have him at an 89, I have him at an 88. I'm not going to complain about stuff like that, right? Like, that's not the biggest deal in the world. It's when you get to the relatively bigger gaps or have an example of someone who, I'm sorry, has a legacy rating. And the reason why you see a lot of people who are frustrated with the Patrick Kane rating, among other issues. I don't know if I want to scroll down far enough. I mean, this tweet was pretty funny. Jonathan Taves will still be an 89. The issue with Patrick Kane still being a 93 in this game is that we have limited attributes to determine just how good somebody is in this game. He will have at least, I would imagine, an 85 defensive awareness rating. That's hilariously off base. We either need a brand new attribute system in this game, or ratings need to be weighted a bit more heavily for forwards and defenders in terms of what attributes more highly impact the rating. I'm cool with Patrick Kane being a 93 because his offensive stats are great, but not if it means jacking up that defensive awareness to an unrealistic level. If Patrick Kane could still be a 93 or whatever the hell they want him to be, but his defensive awareness is accurate, cool. That's a pretty good system. This is not a good system and not a good outcome right now for this one in particular. The other ones that are out here, let's talk about left wings that are here. For me, Jonathan Huberde, a little bit overrated at this point. I get it, crap load of points, but again, defense factors in. I don't necessarily think Huberde should be on that list at this point. And again, here, like I said, I'm perfectly aware that some people will be like, you're a fucking stupid, and I'm sure, you know, whatever. I've been hearing that for a long time anyway, it's fine. But Tammy Paneran, for me, again, if you're only factoring in his offense, damn right, he's a 92. One of the best offensive players in the league for the past 7-8 years now, just about. Guy doesn't fucking play defense. So again, he's going to have that unrealistic defensive awareness rating. Some people don't give a shit. For people like me, drives me goddamn crazy. Ovi being a 92, he finished as a 91 in my last roster update. That's fine. Marchand hanging around a 91, 92, 93 at the high end because, again, very good defensive player. Kirill Kaprizov definitely belongs there. I have him 2 points higher on my last update. Johnny Gaudreau, I have him 3 points higher in my last update. He's unbelievable. Matthew Tkachuk's a little bit overrated. Just a bit. I know. Crap load of points last year. Just a smidge. Just a smidge. The defense, just a smidge. It's an overall. It's not an offensive rating. It's an overall. Kyle Connor. Smidge much. Just a smidge. Landeskog, it's probably a little bit high. Phillip Forsberg, that's okay. You know who's missing from this list of left wings, aside from DeBrincat, who I mentioned, who should be a left wing, not a right wing? There were two guys in particular. Chris Kreider, Valeri Nichushkin. The fuck are they? Chris Kreider, like, okay, you're going to give some of these guys on this list these ratings based off of tremendous past seasons. Where the hell's Chris Kreider, man? Especially with what he did last year. He doesn't get that. He doesn't get that bump. Valeri Nichushkin. The offense is higher than it's ever been, if I'm not mistaken. He is arguably the best defensive forward in the NHL right now. Patrice Bergeron exists, but arguably Stanley Cup champion as well. No boost for him. Not in the top 10. He might be an 89. He might be an 88. That's a name, though, to me that is glaring, that is not in the top 10. And again, it makes me think that they drift more towards points-based as opposed to overall. Offense, defense, overall. So, you know, these ones I'm not as miffed by for the most part, but they can be a little bit rough. Then you get to something like this, and let's be honest, speed is so gosh darn dang subjective that I don't often bother putting up much of an argument with these. I don't. You know, obviously these comments are filled with where the hell is Jordan Kyrou? Where's Ilya Mikheyev? Of course, them tweeting Johnny Gaudreau in a freaking Blues uniform, and then they tweeted Colton Parayko later on in a Blue Jackets thing. Yeah, it is just one of those things where you can sit there and be like, where's Kyle Connor? Where's this guy? Where's that guy? Gurionov, Mikheyev, Kreider, even, and rightfully so, him being mentioned. It's just such a subjective thing, speed. Obviously, the analytics community is getting there in terms of doing better to quantify a player's like top speed generated throughout a season. A big part of the issue too with a speed rating in this game is that there's not multiple different ratings. There should be a speed level with and without the puck. That's one of my big arguments, again, in terms of changing around the attributes. There should 100% be two different speed ratings. Very similar. I think NBA does something very, very similar at this point. It's just one of those things that, you know, outright speed can be a bit more difficult to quantify. I don't know if you want to necessarily go off a fastest skater because not everyone participates. But these type of ones don't bother me as much. Ovi being a 92, whatever. Lucas Raymond being an 84, that's really not that far off. I have him at an 83. That's fine. Talked about those two already. The fastest defenseman. Again, one of those things where it's super difficult to quantify. You'll have people being like, absolutely, these guys should be there. They should be rated higher. Where the hell is the other guy? As you can see, there's a lot of comments about like whether or not Ryan Merkley should be in there. It's, you know, it's just one of those things that will always kind of be contentious until we do have outright analytical stats. And then even then people will be like, well, analytics don't tell you the full thing because he's faster in this way. And then you remember what I said about the two different speed ratings. So those ones, again, I don't get too bothered by. Same with strength. Until we get to the point where there's like, you know, every team every season kind of has their, I almost want to call it their standardized testing and training camp. Like it was known that Zdeno Chara was the pull-up king for the Boston Bruins for years and years and years and years. Until like we constantly get that stuff reported and know that those numbers aren't maybe flubbed a little bit once they are reported, you can't really trust something like this. And then even then, what are we going to do? Like, okay, Lucic, Reeves, bench, who can bench more, who can squat more? Even then, it doesn't factor in who's necessarily stronger on the ice and whether or not strength factors into just someone's their balance, their hitting ability, how strong they are on their skates. Are we talking muscles, like outright, like fucking looking like the Mountain from Game of Thrones? Are we talking about Sidney Crosby's couch-like ass that stops him from being knocked over all the time? What are we talking about in terms of strength? Who's to say? Top 10 left defenseman. I went to this as well. Roman Josi very much deserves to be around that 92-93 rating. Same for Victor Hedman. The drop-off, though, I think is kind of out of touch. I don't think... I mean, yes, these are... If you were to take two left defensemen in the league right now, these are the two you were going to take. Devon Toews, number one, I'm glad is finally getting some respect, because when I started pushing Devon Toews based off of the numbers I was seeing analytically up to like an 88, a 90 plus, 90 plus, people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then he had the season that he did to really back it up, and everyone's like, oh, okay, yeah, Devon Toews, 88, it's fine. He deserves to be in the top 10, for sure. I think he could be in the 90 plus club, personally. Morgan Rielly should not be there. Not saying that as a Bruins fan. I think Leafs fans will tell you, Morgan Rielly defensively, it can be a little bit iffy at times. I do not have Morgan Rielly in my top 10. If you don't care, then I'm surprised you're watching this video this far in. We're like 13 minutes in. But yeah, Morgan Rielly shouldn't be there. Heiskanen, yes, 100%. He could also be higher rated. Rasmus Dahlin, that's a bit of an overrating at this point. I'm not saying he should be an 80, but that is a bit of an overrating at this stage, but I get it. Honestly, how impressive he has been for a Sabres team that has been as bad as they were, with the exception of the back half of last season. Quinn Hughes, yep, could even be higher rated. Zach Werenski, yep, could even be higher rated. Slavin should definitely be higher rated. Shea Theodore just misses the cut. That's not a bad rating, but it's more so that you are missing. Where's Mackenzie Weegar? Where's Jonas Brodin? Where's Jonas Brodin? Arguably the best defensive defenseman, one of the best defensive defensemen in the league for the past couple of seasons. Where's Jonas Brodin? Oh, he doesn't put up that many points, so he's not there. Shit, you can make an argument for Thomas Chabot. A lot of people would make an argument for someone like Travis Sanheim, although analytically it's not bad. And some people are like, this fucker said Travis Sanheim. You see how I try to get out ahead of these things? It's not the worst list in the world. But yeah, there's some people who would not be there anymore, and there are some people who should definitely be there. at this point. Like I said, not having someone like Jonas Brodin says everything you need to know about how they view ratings. And who knows, for NHL 23, maybe I'll just base it off of points, and defensive defensemen will be all 77 overalls, and that'll be fun. It won't be. Right defenseman. Cale Makar is number 1. Yes, sir. Adam Fox in the top 10. Yes, sir. Could be higher rated. John Carlson. Yep. Charlie McAvoy. Should be higher rated, by the way. Alex Pietrangelo. Not anymore. Not anymore. That's a bit much. That's a bit much. Aaron Ekblad. Absolutely. Drew Doughty. Fringe. Fringe. He was much better last year before he got hurt. 7th? But yeah, it's not totally off base. Chris Letang, still a great point producer. Defensively, it's a bit shaky. I have him just outside the top 10. Same for Dougie Hamilton because of defense. Moritz Seider, that's the same rating I had him at at the end of the year. Kid's unreal. He's unreal. Notable names that aren't there, that number 1, I never expected to see this name, but someone like Ryan Ellis, who was phenomenal, didn't play all of last year, probably not going to play this year, so I don't blame him for that. Where's Brett Pesce? Where's Jared Spurgeon? Even someone like Ryan Pulock could have a little bit of an argument to kind of be in this mix. Again, it's not the most egregious rating in the world, but I am just surprised like that they decided to put such an emphasis on the top 3 defensemen and Yossi, Hedman, and Makar being head and shoulders above the rest. I mean, I think you can, you can make that argument they are the best, but like head and shoulders above the rest? Quinn Hughes rocking that 87. I am, good with. Sorry, I was just checking over my ratings. He could even be rated higher. Yeah, Charlie McAvoy only being an 89. Disgusting, disrespectful. PK. That cover was terrible, but good man, PK. Slap shot power and wrist shot power. Stuff like this is, again, much along the lines of strength, speed, all of that. Until we have better ways to actually quantify this, it's going to be EA being like, he scores a bunch of goals, 96 power. It's the same idea as a few years ago where Phil Kessel, who took like 3 slap shots in a season, had like 92 slap shot power. It's just the limitations of the attributes that we have now. So that is what it is. People can fight and bicker over that all they want. It doesn't bother me too much. I mean, sure, you can make arguments about who's there, who isn't there, what shot was recorded in practice versus in game, what should matter, where's Tage Thompson, blah, 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 blah. And same with them with the wrist shot power, right? Same thing. Same thing. Now, again, I base a lot of these powers off of, for example, percentages, not necessarily just goals per 60, but even just at a base level. You can go to NHL.com and just be like, hey, who has a good wrist shot? Who has a good backhand? Who scores the most goals in those examples? And kind of use those to your advantage, especially with X Factors being a thing now. Top 10 deking. A lot of people got frustrated about this one, given that the cover boy, one of the people on the cover, of course, Trevor Zegras alongside Sarah Nurse, he's not up there. Which, yeah, is pretty funky that Trevor Zegras, the cover athlete, the guy who is on the cover for his deking ability and the Michigan, is not on this list. Again, you can make an argument about who should be here, who should be number 1, this, that, and the other. I will always say, no disrespect to Wally here. I was going to say, I know you follow me. No issues with you. I cannot fucking stand when people go to these NHL player polls things and are like, well, this is what the players think. The players don't get to watch everybody play every night. There is a reason why stat tracking and analytics exist, because you can't just base stuff off of a player's opinion. That's where legacy ratings come in, because people had such high respect for Carey Price. He's still what he was all those years ago. No, he started to decline a little bit, and that's okay. Speaking of retirements, I think I made a video about it. If not, we talked about it on the podcast. Carey Price for the Hall of Fame, please. I was going to grab my. Do I have my jersey right here? Or is it on the wall? No, it's right here. It's right here. I'm not joking. Bruins fan and all. Carey Price, Hockey Hall of Fame. Do it. Roberto Luongo got in. Carey Price is getting in. It's going to be a beautiful day. And then the final one that they have put out so far, aside from Caulfield and Owen Power. Okay, we'll talk about the rookie ratings here in a second. was the top 10 under 23. Andrei Svechnikov. Yeah, he can be on this list. He can be, certainly. Definitely don't have him at an 88. I think that's just a bit much, to be honest. 4 points too high. Like 1 or 2 points, whatever. I have him at an 84. That's a bit much. Again, Dahlin at an 88. We already talked about that. He's like 3 points higher than I had him. Zegras, 3 points higher. Jack Hughes, actually underrated. I had him at an 88 at the end of the year. Seider, we already talked about it, an 87. Bowen Byram is one of those where it's like, look, this kid was a fucking stud in that cup run. You gave him an 85 off of 24 games. I'm not a fan of doing that. 79, 80, maybe an 81, and 85 is fucking nuts. An 85 is nuts. Like, let's just call that what it is. That's pretty fucking out there. Tim Stützle, also way too high at this point, 82. Spencer Knight, astronomically high, like Jesus Christ. High 70s, 84 is absurd. Noah Dobson, getting proper respect, 83, 84, not bad. Cole Caulfield, 83, 84, not bad. Some players that I do think honestly deserve a shout. Quinn Hughes doesn't exist, as was pointed out here. He is 22, so where the fuck's Quinn Hughes in that example? I know Flyers fans mention him. Joel Farabee deserves a shout. Capo Caco. I mean, shit, if you're putting Bowen Byram and Spencer Knight up there, where the hell's Matt Boldy for what he did with the Minnesota Wild last year? Evan Bouchard, Lucas Raymond, Adam Boqvist. Shit, Sabres fans will probably rightfully hype up someone like Mattias Samuelsson, who was great last year for the Sabres. Yeah, Rasmus Sandin. I mean, you can just kind of keep going over players like this. Jack Hughes is the best player out of that group of talent right now. He is. I don't know where they get some of these ratings. Like I said, I don't. I really don't. You know, especially too, like you can't say it's like a franchise thing because Spencer Knight at a 78 with a medium or high elite potential will be an 84 in no time. So like, what is the deal? But again, Caulfield there is fine. Owen Power, I get he's a former first overall pick. It's still a little bit much for him out of the gates. Shane Wright, you're okay with a 78, fourth overall. Slavkovsky is 78 too, also cool with that. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at for the moment. So, like I said, free content for us in the roster editing and franchise mode community. I have my work cut out for me again, which is okay. I had kind of mentioned elsewhere that I finally burned out on NHL to the point where it's like, okay, I need to take a break from NHL 22 franchise. First time since I've been on YouTube and before I've been on YouTube that I took a break from stuff. It's been good for me. My batteries are recharged a little bit. If there are certain issues within franchise mode, we'll see how long that lasts. But at the same time, the roster editing process, we learned some things last year off of how I want to properly use X factors, so on and so forth. But we are still dealing with the limitations of this system that the EA has not changed in a long time, with the exception of the shot pass slider. It's pretty much the only thing that we've gotten, the only bone that we've been thrown. So it's not surprising, like I said, to see someone like Patrick Kane still being a 93 overall solely off of points and reputation. You could argue, well, what more to it is there? And again, we went over that, but I don't know. I'm excited for the process. Like I said, I view roster editing as a puzzle, essentially, and getting all the right pieces into the right place is a lot of fun for me every single year. Series S, Series X, my rosters will be there again. Again, I don't know if roster sharing is cross-gen, cross-plat. I doubt it, so that kind of sucks. I might put together another roster editing doc just because I know so many people end up appreciating that. At the same time, it adds literal dozens and dozens of hours onto my work by the end of the year, onto the process. So we will see what happens there. But certainly NHL franchise mode content will be on this channel in less than a month for NHL 23. And we end this video looking at Charlie McAvoy's confused face, just slowly zooming in. Thank you for watching. Listen to the Toogies Take podcast. Support the Toogies Take podcast. Twitch.tv/Toogie24. We stream there every night. Don't forget my second channel as well. TWOGIE24. Toogie24. Goodbye, everybody.
Bruins! Whoa! Whoa! Whoa!